Hi, I'm Anthony Donado. I'm 42 years old, and I'm from New Iberia, Louisiana. This is my friend.
I am Renee Henry, and I was raised in Houma, Louisiana. Spent most of my adult life in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I am 45 years old.
I do lots of things for a living. I play music and then try to get paid to do it. It's a difficult thing to do, but I try. I also have a small catering company that I run. And what else do I do? I install dental x-ray machines with a friend of mine that does that has a business doing that.
High-tech job.
Yeah, I'm a high-tech mule. It's like
High-tech mule.
pick that 400-pound piece of equipment up and put it there, and you got it.
You're kind of shaped like a mule.
I am.
As myself, of course.
Okay, we're on.
She said we're on.
Where did we stop? What was the last
I'm
question?
sorry.
I'm confused right now.
Oh, God.
I have worked in the food biz probably for about 22 years, and I've worked every single position that you can hold in a restaurant except owner. I've never owned a restaurant, but everything else from manager to chef to kitchen manager to dishwasher to waiter to bartender to anything else you can imagine that has to do with that business.
And she likes your curls.
It's done.
I have curl
I don't
problems.
have any more hair.
Was
My
part
daughter drew a picture of me the other day, and she said, "I didn't put any hair on this, Daddy, because yours is falling out."
That's real nice. Well, I'm proud to say my curls may be crooked, but my kids always draw me with curly hair. I kind of look like a black poodle. Well, anyway, the question about the restaurant business
Was, have you ever worked in the food biz, and as what?
Yes, I have worked in the food biz, probably 20 plus years. Financed my education as a mixologist, professional mixologist at that. I do know some drinks. And spent about 13 years as a wholesale baker and chef in New Orleans. And currently work at a local deli and grocery in Abita Springs, Louisiana.
Yeah, speaking of that, being a mixologist and all that, the first half of my restaurant career was spent in the kitchens, and which is a miserable place. Don't ever think that it's glamorous or nice or anything like that. It's hot, especially in New Orleans. It's hot.
Confined.
As you can imagine,
Absolutely
most
confined.
kitchens are really small. And every night I'm watching these waiters and bartenders walk out with big knots of cash in their pocket, and they're fresh and clean, and they got a whole nother night ahead of them while I'm like chafed and sore and burnt and hot and just want to go home.
Did you
And
say
I'm like, you know what? I want to get a job on the other side.
What was that question again?
How long have you ridden motorcycles? So yeah, off and on, I've ridden motorcycles my whole life, but how long have you ridden motorcycles?
Well, I guess maybe 37 or 38 years. If I have to do the math. I started off with a little dirt bike.
You do. You have to do the math.
Yeah, started off with a little dirt bike riding out in the country, and sure enough, had an uncle who owned a motorcycle shop, and got a sponsorship, and did that for about 8 years.
Well, yeah, that'll get you.
Which was fun, you know. A lot of broken bones, but it was a lot of fun. And then when I went to college, bought a 1978 Harley Super Glide and ran that for about 2 years. Got tired of it and bought an old hoopty. And then when I moved back to New Orleans,
when you say old hoopty,
1965 Buick Electra 225.
Nice.
400 horsepower, baby.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But anyways, moved to New Orleans. And when I moved back to New Orleans, I bought a 1973 Triumph Bonneville.
That's a classic. That's
Oh.
just a classic motorcycle, man.
Chrome and black, just sleek lines, beautiful bike. Of course, it leaked oil like a sieve.
Yeah.
I used to put a tank of gas and a half a quart of oil in every tank of gas. That's great, man. I'm currently riding a 2008 Honda 750 Shadow. Big fat tires, fat fenders. And the reason I bought that bike is I really couldn't afford the dream bike, the Harley Softail Deluxe, which is similar in style to the Honda.
Yeah.
But plus $10,000 cheaper. So I settled with the Honda, and I'm certainly enjoying the bike. It's a nice little machine.
I like everything about cooking. I like that food hits on all cylinders. It will hit you with smell, with taste, with sight, with all of your senses. It'll evoke memories. It'll convey emotions. It can do everything that any artistic form can do. Whether it be music or painting or sculpture or whatever, food covers all of those angles too. And I don't know if it's thought of that way a lot, but it's a powerful thing.
I like that. I guess for me, cooking is incredibly relaxing. It's almost a Zen experience for me. Just the whole process of selection,
especially
preparation.
Preparation.
Of course, once the food hits the heat, those natural fragrances and sugars just start to come out of the food. It's absolutely incredible, and it's very relaxing for me. I find it to be quite easy for me. So, fortunately, it's a very easy way to please people.
Next question is favorite foods? That's a tough one. That's like, what's your favorite Led Zeppelin song? Or, I don't know.
I can answer that question. Absolutely, no, bar none, sausage. I love sausage.
God, I wish I you know what? I
love sausage, all types of sausage.
There's so many different things I love with food, though. I wish there was one thing that I could just say, wow, that's it. I said fish was my favorite thing to cook. Why can't I have a favorite food? I don't know.
Obviously a man my size, I like all food. But if I had to say what's my favorite food, absolutely sausage.
Okay, how about who loves your cooking the most?
My wife and kids, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think I love my cooking the most.
Nice.
I don't know.
I love your cooking.
I don't know if my wife and kids love my cooking as much as I do, or anyone else. Right off the top of my head, I'm gonna say I want to go to the French Laundry in Thomas Keller's place, and I want to have him do a tasting menu for me.
That is an excellent choice.
That's off the top of my head. It also says, what would your second choice be? I want to think about that. I want you to give your first choice.
I guess my first choice, it doesn't say continental United States. So with that in mind, I am absolutely weak for king salmon. And actually, one of the best meals I've ever had in my entire life was king salmon, fresh king salmon. A friend of mine went to Alaska, brought it back to New Orleans, and I was fortunate enough the following day to dine on king salmon.
I feel like I've never really had salmon just because I've never been to the Northwest, and I've only had salmon here, and I know that can't be really salmon. It's good. I mean, it's good, but I know if you got it
completely different
fresh,
experience.
it could be, one of those goat cheese kind of moments.
That's right. And I guess for a second choice, I absolutely love New Mexico.
Wow.
It's hard to believe, but it's out in the middle of the desert and dry country, yet I've had some of the finest fish tacos in New Mexico that I've had anywhere. And then also, being a sausage man, they have some fine chorizo out there as well.
They do. When you said New Mexico.
Well, when it comes to mistakes in the kitchen, I don't know, when I think back on all the years that I worked in commercial kitchens, I'm sure I've made lots and lots of minor mistakes, but one of the biggest mistakes I ever made, I was at a hunting camp down in South Louisiana, duck hunting, and it was actually a houseboat sitting in this channel, and I decided to cook chicken stew. And chicken stew,
I love houseboats.
Everybody's mom, everybody's grandmother in South Louisiana does chicken stew, right?
Yeah.
So I'm cooking the classic chicken stew, and my mother would always put like a tablespoon of white cane sugar in the stew, just to sweeten it just a little bit. And of course I had several cold beverages in me at the time, and instead of taking the spoon and doing just a small spoonful of sugar in a chicken, I decided to sprinkle the 5-pound bag of sugar. And of course, a nice rogue wave hit the houseboat and kind of threw me off balance, along with the cold beverages. And we wound up with a kind of like a
Candy
chicken stew. And to this day, there's about 8 or 9 gentlemen that I go hunting and fishing with that always remind me about the candied chicken stew. So I think that as far as a mistake, I hear about that one, and that was 20
you should
years
have told
ago.
him, you know what, you guys have been too lethargic. All right, I was trying to put a little pep in your step, get you some sugar going here. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? Did we cover that already? What's the most unusual?
Unusual.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? By most people's standards, I would say hog's head cheese,
Hog's head cheese.
which is a magnificent thing. The French call it fromage de tête. It's made by boiling the head of a pig and just basically taking the bones out and making a pate out of everything that's left.
a poor man's pate.
Poor man's pate.
But it is very good on crackers.
Oh, it's excellent. I don't even need crackers. I'll eat it just plain.
Hardcore traditional.
Yeah.
Well, I think the weirdest thing that I've ever eaten before, I went to a Vietnamese restaurant and of course had a nice hot bowl of pho. And the Vietnamese restaurant, there's only like 745 options on the menu. So, the variations between number 1 and number 9 on the pho is kind of determined by how many meat ingredients you get in the one bowl. So one day I was feeling bold and decided to go with the number 9 pho. And the last ingredient there was beef tendon. And I can honestly say as a child and an adult, I've never had any issues with like the gag reflex thing. But I started to eat the tendon, and I gave it like 5 or 6 really good chomping bites. And it didn't separate, it didn't break, it didn't squish. It remained kind of the same texture. It just appeared to be getting larger. So, being a good Louisiana boy, I said, this is kind of like eating an oyster, It's just kind of like eating an oyster. It's not really meant to be chewed. I just need to swallow this thing. So I took the big gulp and swallowed it down. We got about halfway down. And of course, it's always comical to see a 275-pound man kind of gagging and heaving at the table like he has a hairball. But needless to say, I did get the tendon down that evening. And that is the last time I've eaten tendon.
Yeah. I must say pickled pig's ear had a very interesting consistency. It was like moist styrofoam.
Chewy,
Yeah. But I was actually playing in a band, and these guys got it as a joke. And they were all like, "Oh, I'm gonna try it." And they just taking little video, little bites, and I'm like, and I grabbed one and just took a big old bite out of it. And I'm like, if you're gonna try something, try it. And I was like, that was a mistake right there. Oh boy,
Why in the world did I do that?
what am I gonna do? But that rounds out the weird pickled pig's ear. And I think that we've covered all of the questions that we seem to be required to cover. So.
And I had a fine time covering the question.
All right, thanks guys. Thank y'all for the opportunity for us to do this. It's been so much fun putting all this stuff together and thinking about all this and reigniting the passion I have for food and whatnot. It's been a pleasure to put this all together, and hopefully we can be working together in the future.
Yeah, I think the nicest thing for me is everything that Dawn requests of us is kind of what we just do in everyday life.
Yeah,
So as you can see, for us, it's
something?
pretty easy to eat food and enjoy cooking food. So
And shoot quackigators?
what about the quackigators?
And shoot quackigators?
And shoot quackigators. As a matter of fact, You know, we have that quackigator in the freezer. We have to make gumbo out of that.
Yeah, we do. I've got some nice stock. Maybe we should.
Well,
do
tomorrow the weather's going to be cold. It might be a good event to do tomorrow.
that. It's supposed to be the last of the cold streak. Cold streak supposed to get warming up here
Well,
soon. So
here's a toast to quackigator gumbo.
Wackagator
A little
gumbo.
Sunday event. Cheers.
All right.